Hello, welcome to Beach View, our podcast about all sorts of things and or stuff.
See, you thought you were doing a podcast intro, but I switched it for a fake podcast.
What?
Oh, you're not gonna play along?
I'm not following.
Well, you were supposed to take the role of Light.
Oh, I get it. I get it now. Okay, it took me a second. I'm a little slow. Okay, yes. Well, you don't even know because I actually switched it. Booyah.
Oh, well, I actually triple switched it because I knew
God.
you would switch the fake for a fake and found the real podcast and switched it for a fake, and now I have the real podcast.
Well, I'm 8 steps ahead of you because I Uno reversed it and
It's over, Kira. You lost.
Mm-mm. But who really lost?
Kira?
Who?
Obviously.
Yeah. Obviously. Yeah.
Anyway,
so if you couldn't deduct our subject.
it's Death Note again.
Death
the final
Note
Death
again.
Note episode for our
Yes.
spooky, creepy Halloween month of watching. I feel like that fits right in with Halloween.
It does. Autumn, Halloween, we wanted creepiness, so what's more creepy than the final episodes of Death Note?
Yes, so this was episodes 32 to 37. So, at the top, what'd you think?
Well, full confession, at first I watched episodes 32 through 36 and thought that's what we were watching. And then I was like, wait, there's one more. So I had to go watch that. I was like late in the game. So yeah. So anyway, I guess it was like a fitting ending. I was kind of like, I don't want to say surprised. I wasn't surprised because I was like, yeah, it was though for me suspenseful because I was like, wait, who's going to be, who's going to come out on top in the end? Yeah. So, and it was like a final, I like these episodes better, maybe because I knew they were the final episodes, like, that I was like, okay, we're going to see what happens finally, like, because I feel like some of those in the middle were just like dragged out plot lines, I mean, it's a lot of episodes. So I was glad that it came to an end and we finally got to see, it's over. So what did you think? Like, what were your thoughts? And I know this is like, you've seen it before, so.
Yeah, so I didn't have that suspense because I knew how it was going to end. Building off what you said, like, yeah, there are parts of this that I feel like were better than, like, some of the previous episodes, but there's also, like, parts of this that are way worse. Particularly, like, there is one scene that is the worst scene in this show, in this set of episodes. Oh, you can't guess?
No, I can't.
Well, you'll find out in the plot synopsis, because I did editorialize there.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think of which one. It's honestly like all a jumble right now.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But yeah, like I just, like I'm glad we're back to the like fun criminal versus detective, like cat and mouse thing, as opposed to like last set of episodes, whole like action movie nonsense.
Yes.
But I felt like this was just like bad, criminal detective cat and mouse.
Oh,
like, I just think the plotting and their plans were bad. Like poorly written.
Yeah, okay. I agree. It was a little like, I don't want to say elementary, but I guess I do want to say that. And there was still some like action scenes that I kind of like zoned out in. I don't like the action scenes.
Not near as many though.
Not near as many, no. And it wasn't like, it wasn't as like superhero. You remember how like or maybe it was the ones before where we're like, it's like Gotham City or something up in here,
Yeah.
So it wasn't as bad as that, but you had like the, I think Nier was such a like kind of a goofy character.
Yes.
Yeah, like, he's like playing with little toys the whole time.
Yeah.
It was just like I really liked L.
Right.
A lot better.
Yeah, to reiterate what we said last time, like Nier and Mello are far less compelling than L, and that.
Yeah, don't even get me started on Mello. Yeah.
I guess we'll get into it later, but
Yeah,
what don't you like about him?
It's just like he didn't really make an appearance that much, like as much as I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, like when he does, and it's just this kind of like almost like vigilante kind of, more like hardcore. I don't even know. Not as well thought out, I feel like, as what Nier was operating as. And it kind of was like, why did they have these two? Like, just to, like it didn't make a lot of sense to me in the plot. Like, why wouldn't they just have one, So.
I mean, there's the thing at the end where they, like, need both of them to surpass L.
Yeah.
That I think that's part of why they did two.
I guess so. But the whole time I'm just going like, okay, like what's he bringing to the table, Besides his like vigilante stuff.
I agree, yeah. But also we have a new character, technically not a new character, introduced only to be killed off like 3 episodes later, so.
Yeah.
Which I thought was ridiculous.
Yeah, I was like, in the last set of episodes, we're going to bring in a new character? That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then Misa was like as crazy as ever, so.
Yes. And then a non-factor.
Yeah, a total non-factor. I was like, the whole time we have this like Misa character, and it's just like, that just kind of goes away. It doesn't go away. She's still there, but like, you know what I mean? Like, what? Where did that come from? Yeah.
But yeah, so, I guess I'll get into a plot synopsis.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, do you want the, synopses for a previous set of episodes, or no?
Maybe a quick one.
Okay.
Like, maybe, like, where we left off.
Yeah, so, in the aftermath of L dying, we had, his 2 successors, Nier and Mello, who take over and start, like, trying to investigate Kira, and they have different approaches, and, also Light's dad died.
R.I.P.
Yep, and that's where we pick up with, 32, the new Kira, Tiro Mikami's backstory. He was introduced in the last set of episodes, because Light needed, a new person to carry out his bidding, because he was under watch. And, he takes up a very black and white view of morality from a young age and sets out to punish evil. As a kid, he tries to fight back against bullies, causing him to get in fights constantly. Eventually his mom wants him to stop doing this because he keeps getting beat up, and then she dies in an accident. He later becomes a prosecutor to serve his goal, and due to his beliefs and him like showcasing his beliefs, he starts attracting the attention of Kira, who gives him a death note, and he like worships Kira as a god. And the new Kira chooses a spokesperson. So new character, technically an old character, Kiyomi Takada is introduced. So if you remember, she is Light's girlfriend from the college set of episodes, when he's like trying to keep multiple girlfriends to seem normal to throw off the investigation into him.
Right.
And so seeing this, Light sets up a meeting with her, and he tricks the investigation team into thinking, oh, this is him investigating the Kira case. But he actually ends up using it to reveal that he is Kira to her and wraps her into his plan. 33. Nier goes to Japan. The task force gets Misa a gig at Takada's news network so they can surveil her. Light and Nier start mentally sparring. They're calling and talking to each other and being like, oh, I'm gonna catch you, whatnot. Nier knows that Light is Kira now, and that there's a new Kira, and that the new Kira and Light are communicating through Takada. Nier also states that they won't kill the Kiras. Light and Takada meet in the task force, having audio but not video surveillance. They pass written notes to each other because of this. And Light has Takada use the death note from this point forward. And Light comes up with a plan that involves the new Kira writing in a fake notebook. We do not find out what this plan is in full until, like, the last 2 episodes. Nier finds out about the new Kira's identity. Takada and Misa have a rivalry. Nier finds out about Light and Takada's meetings and begins surveilling the new Kira. And in the worst scene in this show, Takada invites Misa to dinner.
Oh,
it goes poorly.
That was goofy.
It was terrible. Just awful.
Like, pointless.
Pointless, and just, like, the worst case of why are we doing this? Like, just...
Yes.
And the misogyny, just like...
I was gonna say misogynistic, like two females against each other, yeah.
Like fighting over a man. Apparently both of them, sole motivation is to be with Light.
Yes, so goofy.
But anyways, yeah, so it goes poorly, and then at the end, we have a scene where Mikami basically reveals himself to be the new Kira to the SPK member who's tailing it. So, 34. Nier confirms that Mikami is in fact the new Kira and wants to investigate him more closely. They also want to determine the whereabouts of the Shinigami. Light has another meeting with Takada, wherein one of the investigation team members figure out he's been passing notes. He then meets with Nier, and Nier basically dismisses him and the entire Japanese investigation team, but says he wants them to bear witness. Then the SPK captures Misa, just to take her out of the picture, because she was the second Kira at one point. Then the SPK member tailing Mikami ends up touching the notebook on Nier's orders, and later takes pictures of it. Light is also seemingly aware of Nier's plan to investigate Mikami, so has the new Kira contact Takada to contact him once something is confirmed. Again, we don't know what this is exactly. 35. The new Kira sends the message along to Takada, who sends it along to Light. Then Nier sets up a meeting in person with Light at a warehouse. All members of both investigation teams will also be in attendance at this meeting, and Light will not be in possession of the Japanese investigation team's death note during this time. Both Light and Nier say they're aware of the other's plans and certain that they will come out on top. Mello's back and kidnaps Takada. The SPK member watching her goes along with this. Light and Nier find out it's Mello, and during this kidnapping, Takada keeps a piece of the death note with her and ends up killing Mello. What Mello's plan was remains unknown at this time, and the episode ends with Light killing Takada with the shred of the death note he keeps on him.
Sad.
Yeah. 36. After some dramatic preamble, Light and Nier and the investigation teams meet in the warehouse. Nier's plan is to finally reveal Light and catch the two Kiras. Light's plan is to kill everyone there and finally rule as god of the new world. Both are once again certain that they will win. The two sides meet and have a bit of conversation. Nier reveals that Mikami is going to show up and write down everyone's names. He shows up and does this. Nier then reveals his plan. The old switcheroo.
Mm-hmm.
He replaced parts of Mikami's notebook, Mikami's death note, with fake pages. Light then reveals his plan. The old double switcheroo. He knew that the SPK would be following Mikami, and so had him create a fake notebook. That way, Nier would switch the fake for another fake, meaning Mikami would still have the real notebook. Mikami then reveals himself, and we count down until all the people in the room will die, and the episode ends there at the end of the countdown. So, 37. The people in the room do not die. Nier then confirms to everyone that Light is Kira. Light is upset. Nier then reveals his plan. The old triple switcheroo. He actually replaced both the fake notebook and the real notebook with a fake, and took the real notebook for himself. He then shows that he has the real notebook and reveals Mello's plan, and Mello's part of this plan, and Nier and Mello actually work together, and the thing was they would kidnap Takada, knowing that it would cause Mikami to reveal the location of the real notebook. And Mello went along with this despite knowing that it would cost him his life. Light goes full megalomaniac mode and goes on this whole rant. Nier fires back by saying he's nothing more than a serial killer.
Yeah.
Light then tries to write their names into the death note, but is shot by Matsuda. Light is desperate and, falling on the ground about to die, and, he's lost. And then Mikami suddenly, dies, giving Light enough of a window to escape. And Light runs away defeated. He no longer has access to the death note. Everybody knows he's Kira, or the investigators know he's Kira. And he's almost certainly going to bleed out from his gunshot wounds.
Mm-hmm.
So then Ryuk writes his name in the death note, and Light dies at the end.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I guess we'll do what we normally do and start episode by episode, unless you have anything you really want to say.
No, we'll go episode by episode.
Okay, so 32. What did you have to say about this?
So, not much to say here. There's a whole background of the new Kira and the new spokesperson. I did find it interesting when they were showing like the newscast of Takara, like an example of her newscast, that Hurricane Katrina was mentioned. So I was like, that's
yeah,
interesting.
I forgot about that. Yeah, because
yeah,
that was probably in the news around the time it was being written, but it's like 2013 in the story now, so it was weird that they picked that.
Yeah. It was very interesting because I was like, that's something that obviously like affected my life in a big way. So I was like, how funny. And then yeah, I was trying to put together like the years and I was like, huh, that's interesting. But anyways, so that was noteworthy to me. But I didn't understand how the other Kira,
Mikami. I mean, you can just call him the new Kira if you want.
Yeah, so I didn't understand why the new Kira, like when he was writing in the Death Note, like at the end, he's like, delete,
yeah,
delete,
he's just
delete,
like
delete.
That. The delete man. I called him that in our last set of episodes.
Right, but I'm like, still, I'm going like, why?
He just does that.
Why are you doing that? Yeah.
He's just like
so
that.
So that was, I mean, and that was a note from like the last one, but I was still like, he's still doing that. I mean, I guess whatever. But I didn't have a whole lot to say on episode 32.
Yeah, I thought the fact that we go in this like weird like documentary / like flashback format for the like his backstory was strange.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Also the thing with his mom is like messed up in a kind of funny way, and he's like, "Oh, my mom's telling me to stop so I don't get beat up. Therefore, she's evil and deserves to die."
Yeah, I was like, what is wrong with these like vigilante people? Like, I guess in my life I have not come across anything like this. And so I'm just going like, is it different in Japan? Like, like it's one of those like it's so odd. Like, yeah. So the whole documentary style when he's like sees kids getting beat up and he like steps in and you know like his I'll say severe sense of justice.
Yes. Very black and white. Very black and white.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that was just, I guess it was like, you know, character building, but it was just kind of like an odd episode to me. Because there wasn't a whole lot to say on it. Like, I guess, you know, we see the new Kira, but the new Kira, to me, like in the subsequent episodes, wasn't that much of a spotlight, you know? So I was kind of like, why do we go through a whole episode on the new Kira when he's kind of like a background character like the rest of the time, you know?
Yeah, well, I think that, like, that's a big problem with, I think this whole set of episodes, like, the whole end game is that, like, it's a lot of character, like, weird things they do with the character, like Mello basically disappearing and then only coming back for, like, one instance to die, and, like, Takara coming back, and, like, just a lot of weird choices with their characters.
And, like we said, they had set up, like, Misa, like, throughout the whole series, and then it's like she just kind of was, like, the annoying background character. You know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of odd that they spend so much time on some of these characters, and then in the end, they end up not really having a big role.
Yep. Also, I think the fact that, like, Takara, like, the spokesperson for Kira ends up being, like, someone that was in previous episodes is just, like, a ridiculous choice. Like, it felt way too contrived for me.
Well, yeah, because then you're like, well, duh, they're gonna know, you know? Like, they connected it pretty quickly, right? Like...
Well, Light didn't even make that choice. That was the new Kira.
Yeah, that's true. But I was still kind of like, why, like, you're just handing it over to them, you know what I mean? So maybe the new Kira didn't, like, I don't know, put that together. That was kind of a question I had, like, why did they choose that character to be the spokesperson, you know? Because I felt like there were all these like connections that they would easily put together.
I think the sole purpose to do that is to have the Misa Takara rivalry. Like, that is it.
Which was goofy. But, I mean, we know from previous episodes that the writers are, you know, into that kind of thing, so...
Yes, yeah. Well, I think this had, like, one writer, because it was a manga originally.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. Well...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also, like, I mean, you know, like, Takara is barely a character in her previous appearance, but, like, this was not her character from before.
Right.
Like, she just, like...
Yeah, it was...
normal college student, not like
I was gonna
Kira
say,
supporter.
Happened to rise to fame as far as, news network.
Yeah, very coincidental, like, writing.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And I had to remind myself that this was years. You remember how they had the time
skip.
Yeah, and which is why, because to me, when I was watching this new set of episodes, I was like, Light looks different, and I'm like, well, yeah, because he's aged, he's he's like a man, so like a grown man now. And I was trying to figure out, well, how many years was it? I remember we went 5 years. And then I couldn't figure out. I was like, did we go more than 5 years? I couldn't remember, but
I think it's been 6 by the end of this.
Yeah. I was gonna say I was thinking less than 10, more than 5, but I was like, oh yeah, he has to look different because he's aged.
Yes.
So yeah.
Also, this comes up later too, but the whole thing where they've been suspicious of Light in the previous episodes, and then they just trust him with these meetings,
okay. That was another one of my questions, because why would Light still be on the investigation team when they're still suspicious of him? To me, that is the goofiest thing, because they're well, we can keep an eye on him. I guess that's the logic. We can keep an eye on him and see what he does. But then you send him in with no video surveillance.
Right.
What are you doing?
And the first scene, they takes down on the video surveillance because Kira called him, and it is just it takes multiple times at this before they're fully oh yeah, no, Light's definitely suspicious. And it's
yes,
which, I mean, they do, I think the intention's for them to come across as incompetent, but it's just weird.
It is definitely weird because you see that the other investigators, or at least one in particular, was still yeah, I think it's him. And then he's well, I have to tell you, this girl I used to date in college. And he's okay, well, he admits it himself, so maybe he doesn't have anything to hide. And you're oldest trick in the book, guys, come on. Yeah, so I think that was really goofy that they sent him with no video surveillance. They removed the surveillance because of Kira. That didn't really explain, their logic to me was super goofy with that. But whatever. I mean, that's what makes a story, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I don't know. They come across as incompetent at multiple points where, Matsuda's all, goofy as usual, and then, other members of the task force start joining in on that, and, Nier totally writes them off.
Yeah, exactly. It's, super goofy. So, I know we're getting into, further episodes, too, but yeah, it's, to me, it's okay. But, like we said, I did think this set of episodes was better than the last ones.
Yeah. Also, Light's still manipulating women,
Yes.
Typical Light.
I'm Light, get it together. Yeah, but yeah, so.
I mean, at least the show knows that that's villainous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But also, can't write women, so.
Oh my gosh, I was gonna say, the problems with their female characters, I just think it is so goofy. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But
I think, the FBI investigator, who's barely a character, is the only one that comes out good in this set of episodes.
Yeah, but then, okay, so they have her, and then they have the 2 others that are, bodyguards that aren't even, any kind of characters. So I'm why introduce all 3 of them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just thought that was a little goofy, but whatever.
Alright, so, yeah, is that everything on 32?
Yeah. I know I said I didn't have much to say, but apparently I did, so.
I did, definitely, so.
Yeah. So 33, which is titled Scorn, Nier shows up again and is playing with his toys.
Yes, those dolls get introduced here, the weird wooden doll things. Which
I didn't mind the dolls.
Oh,
At least they were more interesting than the well, when they show him getting on a plane and he's playing with this other little toy.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
Yeah, I was that's so goofy. Is how old is this person supposed to be? I guess there's no age limit for toys, but I'm just kind of so
he's
weird.
Childish, that's his character, basically.
Yeah, that's his character, but I'm just kind of he's leading an investigation. I mean, I know, they wrote the character that way, but I was still kind of like going, I don't know. Elle, to me, was just so much more of an intriguing character.
Yeah.
Than Near or Mello. And so I just Near's like constant playing with toys was a little goofy. But once he started like labeling the little wooden dolls, I was like, okay, I mean, I guess he's like, enacting. That's his thought process, whatever.
Yeah. But also he had the ones modeled after all the characters in the show.
Yes. I'm like, that's so weird. And then he was like hanging them in a later episode, like hanging them on like a Christmas tree. I was like,
yeah, this all just
so strange.
I didn't like those dolls. They looked weird to me.
Yeah, it just wasn't like a relatable, like it wasn't an endearing, like whereas to me, like Elle's like kind of quirks were like endearing.
Yeah.
This was not.
And I feel like they were actually like thought out as quirks. Like he's kind of childish and he's fidgety and he's always like eating sweets and like playing with things, but that feels like a realistic quirk.
Yeah.
Like, not that it needs to be real, but it feels like a thought through, like well-considered thing, whereas Near feels like, oh, I need a successor to Elle. He's gonna be like Elle, but 10 times more in this one aspect, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. It was a little goofy, but so yeah, the toy thing, I was like, okay. And then we have like fake Kira calls real Kira God and like follows all his instructions. Like he's obviously like worshiping this dude, and it's just kind of like the whole like fake Kira, spokesperson Kira, the real Kira, like Misa as like the second Kira previously, like the Kiras are just like, all over the place.
Yeah.
So we kind of have that. Meanwhile, like Near is figuring things out.
Yep.
As he's playing with the little toys. Misa continues to act a fool.
Yes.
Like she's still like the annoying, like character that's displayed as being like stupid,
right, which is like doubly worse, like I said in the last set of episodes, where like previous to that they were trying to show her as competent in some capacity, like and now it's just like, nope, out the window.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, well, whatever happened to that? And then they're watching Megumi like because Near thinks that he's ex-Kira, so I don't like, that's a whole thing. And yeah, the whole Takada and Misa dinner, like they're like sizing each other up. Misa is just like drowning in alcohol, like acting a fool. And like Takada is like, better than her, like this kind of thing. And that whole thing.
Yeah, they're arguing over who's gonna like have light.
Yeah, why did they set up the meeting anyway? Like, why did Takada like even set it up with Misa? Like, that was the whole thing. I was kind of like, how does that even like fit in with the plot?
Because her entire character motivation is apparently she like is in love with light. Like how Misa's entire character motivation was apparently she's in love with light.
Right.
It's like, oh, now they have to like, have a
duke it out.
Love triangle spat about it.
Yeah, like it was just really goofy, and like Misa sees the writing on the wall, so she's just kind of like, being obstinate. And
no, Misa doesn't see the writing on the wall. She thinks like
I think she sees the writing on the wall. Well, I think she thinks Light's gonna choose her, but I think she sees the writing on the wall like he's using her Takada, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think she's like basically like fighting back because she's like, I guess that could be misinterpreted when I said that, but yeah, like, so she's just kind of being real defensive, and like, it like plays into Takada's motives, I feel like. And then anyway, that whole thing was like super goofy.
Yeah. Unnecessary, poorly written, misogynist.
Yeah, exactly.
The worst scene in the show.
It was pretty, I wouldn't say it was the worst scene, but it was pretty bad.
What did you say is the worst scene then?
The one where they first like kidnap Misa.
Oh, yeah. No,
I think that whole part is like just terrible, but anyways. So, yeah, and then at the end of this episode, we see like the fake, I'm calling him fake Kira. Fake Kira, like, supposedly, like, kill someone, like, by writing in the notebook when they're on a train and there's a guy bothering a girl. So that was like at the very end, I believe. So
yeah, and that's what like they fully confirm that he's Kira in that scene.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's it on that one. Do you have anything else on 33?
Nope. So 34.
So this is where things start to run together because my notes aren't really good on this.
Well,
like
they
which
are,
episodes,
like,
which.
Yeah, they all. It's intentional. They are all like the last arc. It's not like separated in that way.
Yeah, exactly. So there's I guess the whole rest of it is like for me like the chase to find out like who's the real Kira, and to me it's like muddled because like I said you have like fake Kira, the second Kira that's not the second Kira anymore, the Kira spokesperson, like Near and Mellow are like on the tail, like Light is still trying to outsmart everybody, like all, like the investigators are like, some of them are just like you said incompetent, some of them are suspecting still, and it's just like a whole like race to the end to see like who's gonna come out on top.
Yeah. Yeah, and once again I have to mention the incompetence because this is like where the meetings again, like the fact that the investigation team took this long to be like, oh, he's passing notes, he's suspicious, is just ridiculous. I already mentioned that. The scene where Light has that meeting and they're like, Takada's like, oh, I spoke with Misa, I have a rivalry with her, and Light's just like, women, am I right?
Right, yeah. You're like, oh my god, Light is just so... I mean, obviously, we know, like, he's super arrogant. He has to be, because he's the god of the new world.
Yes,
but,
yeah.
But, like, his treatment toward women is, like, you remember, like, at first, we're like, okay, he has a little bit of a warped sense of justice, but he's, like, all in all, a good person. You know what I mean? And then, like, as the story goes on, you're like, no, he's a megalomaniac and all this stuff. And he just really, like, his whole attitude toward people has changed, obviously, over all the episodes.
I don't think that's my reading. I think my reading is that he was always like this to some degree, and the Death Note just let him express it.
Well,
and then he also went a bit mad with power. But,
you can argue
the
that.
The seed was always there.
Yeah,
like, he was always this person in his core.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he is, and this just brought it to light. But, like, at first, when they're developing his character... I didn't get it. Yeah. At first, when, they're developing his character, to me, like, when you're first watching it, you're like, yeah, all in all, he's a good person. He's just kind of, like, getting mixed up in this, like, Death Note thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's my... As I was watching it at the beginning. Then I think it becomes more clear, like, okay, this is bringing out who he really was. But, like, you can see the total transformation in these last episodes, which obviously you're meant to. But, I mean, you see it before, too, his treatment of women.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching this last set of episodes and thinking about him at the beginning when they first introduced him, and his sense of justice and like his sense of doing right by people, that's out the window. He does not care about anybody, which we saw this before, but I'm just looking at it from the end of what he has become. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was just like, why are you treating these poor women this way? And why weren't the women written better?
Yeah.
But we've already covered that.
Also, to support your point, the show does in fact like do that contrast. Like at the very last episode when like it juxtaposes like Light's memory of walking like pre-Death Note or like early on in the Death Note, with him walking now.
Yes.
Like who he's become.
Yeah.
But that's in the future.
A shell of the person he was. Yeah. But and then I also thought it was a little goofy that like, I forget his name, but the investigator who goes, he's like, they could be passing notes to each other when, they're meeting, and he's like, let me put a fingernail mark on one of these pages. And he puts like a mark in like the notepad. There's like 4 notepads in the room. First of all, why are there so many notepads in one room?
I don't know. It's a hotel. I don't know.
Yeah. they don't have 4 notepads in one room. But he puts like a fingernail mark in like different pages on the bottom. And then he's like, they're all gone. And it's like, dude, okay, first of all, like, if I'm gonna put a fingernail mark, I'm gonna put it on, like, the top pages. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, then they would
like,
notice.
I guess so, but, like, I'm just kind of, they obviously didn't notice anyway because they use, you know, those pages. But I was like, that's kind of a goofy, I mean, I guess it was effective in this case, but I was like, can't you do something else? Like, let me just put a fingernail mark. Like, I mean, I don't know. I thought that was, like, a little elementary.
I mean, that's beneath my notice at this point with some of the other stuff happening in this.
Yeah, that's true. I was just kind of like rolling my eyes at it. Like, that's kind of goofy. But whatever.
Let's see. Oh, I thought the scene where the SPK guy was scared about the Shinigami was funny.
Yeah.
Like when he's going to, like, he's been ordered to, like, touch the Death Note, and he's just kind of, like, freaking out about it.
I don't like how they, like, manipulated him. Like, oh, if you're too scared, we'll get somebody else to do it. I was like, dude, you're talking about, like, death here. And, like, trying to, like, you know, if you're a scaredy cat, you don't have to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, that's kind of, first of all, that's rude. But yeah, it was kind of funny when he's, like, really nervous and, like, thinks he hears something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The paranoia, like, that was a little comical. Like, the poor guy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
Yeah. Anything else about 34?
I don't think so.
Alright. So, 35?
So 35. Okay, remind me what happens in this one.
So, 35 is the one where Takada dies. Like, Mello abducts Takada, and also they establish the meeting that they're gonna have.
Yeah. So, yeah, the whole Takada, like, the whole, you know, as I said before, where Mello is just, like, vigilante justice here. Like, I think that's just so goofy. And, like, who was the guy that was the driver? Like, what was his relationship? Like, you know, he ends up getting killed.
Yes.
And you see Mello going, oh, I didn't know he was going to be killed.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Like, why? What?
Yeah, there's just a random dude that gets introduced, and he has a name for some reason. Like, I don't know why he's here.
Yeah, and I'm going like, you killed this dude. Like, for the sake of your whatever you're doing. Like, you ended up killing another person. And he's just sitting there like, oh, I didn't realize. Like, what? I thought you're supposed to be like a genius. Like, you know?
Yeah.
So,
it's the whole thing.
Yeah. I didn't understand, like, why they had these two, like, genius people that, like, Mello wasn't ever fully developed, I guess, to me.
No.
So, I think, like, to me, I was just questioning, like, why is Mello even, like, making a comeback in this episode? But, like you said, the last, where, you know, it takes two of them, I guess. But I was kind of like, okay, like, Mello's back. Cool.
It's also, like, he was established. Well, he didn't die, so they gotta bring him back.
Yeah.
But, like, they just disappear him, and he suddenly reappears here in a way that's like, what is happening? Why does this have anything to do with the plot? And then it's explained, like backfilled later at the end.
Yeah.
And it's I think, poorly written, and, like, everything with Takada just, like, awful in this. Like, she just...
Yes.
God, she's awful.
Scared, she's crying, like, the whole...
Like, begging for Light to help her.
Yeah, she's trying to hide the little note she had, you know, the piece of paper she has, and she's like, I did everything you asked. Like, it's like, yeah, and look where that got you, boo. Like, so, that was just terrible.
Yeah, Light, like, the fact that Light has her, like, in the Death Note, like, burn everything. Yes. Including herself is just really
including
awful.
Herself. Yeah, I'm just going like, what? And she, like, did that. But, I mean...
Well, she was Death Noted.
She was Death Noted. Yeah, she didn't have a choice. But I was like, how terrible. Like, you use this person just to kill her off and to destroy everything, you know?
Yep.
So, that to me was That was the most like, oh my goodness, can't believe you did this. You're a terrible
Yeah,
person.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
I feel like, speaking to your point earlier, this is like definitely like, oh, he's going off the deep end. Like going off the deep end.
Yes. 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 It was just such a traumatic thing that you're just like, I cannot believe this. Yeah. So yeah,
Awesome, yep.
that's where I stood on that.
R.I.P. Takada. Wish she was written better. Like,
I know.
dear God, this ending is awful for her too. Just with everything
You
else.
had so much potential, but it did not come to fruition. Yeah, it was bad.
Yep. Let's see. Anything else about this episode?
I don't think so.
Okay. They do set up the meeting, and this is more like clearly something's going on here between these two. They like this whole set of episodes. They both have one plan. It's seemingly like the same plan.
Yeah.
But one of them's gonna come out on top, and we like don't know what it is.
Yes.
And like, I don't know. I thought that was just like poorly written too. Like, I get you want to like build up for a final confrontation. It's just, to me, it's like, I don't know. I didn't think that was good.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely had the like questioning, like, okay, who's gonna come out on top? So
Yeah.
I guess it was effective, but
they have like the same plan seemingly. It's
yeah.
like, oh, like they both know what the other one's gonna do, and they're just going along with each other.
Right.
And it's just like,
yeah.
Like there's no maneuvering really.
Yeah, they're just like waiting for one to drop the ball, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's all like a big mystery until the end, and it just, I don't know, I don't like how that was done.
Yeah, I can see that, but you know, like I said again, I was like, well, who is gonna come out on top? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it was effective.
Is that everything about 35?
I think so.
Okay, so 36? Yeah, anything about that one?
36. The last one was 37, right?
Yes.
Why I keep thinking 38? I have no idea. I guess even number, but yeah, 36. So we're still building up to the finale. I honestly, like I said, when I was watching it, I thought 36 was the last one. So when I got to the end of it, and I was kind of like, what? Like,
oh God, that would have been a great ending. Oh my God.
It really would have. Honestly, it would have. And then I see the to be continued, and I was like, wait. And I was like, okay. Yeah, there's one more. So
I don't like the build up, but God, that would have been a great ending where you
Wouldn't
just
it?
don't know who won.
Yes.
Like either like the
I think
Death
that
Note
would have been
work
good. Yeah.
and Light like kills everybody, or yeah, and you just don't know.
Yeah, like I just finished a book this week that was like that, where it ended and you're like, well, what's gonna happen? You know, which I think is a great concept for ending. Like I love that kind of ending.
It depends, but here I think it would have just like nailed it.
I thought it was like the end, and then I was like, what? There's one more. So yeah, I was a little late to the game on that. Apparently, like I did not like look ahead to see how many episodes there were. But yeah, so I guess, and like I said, I think it served its purpose where I was in suspense, like, you know, so I think it worked. There was some drawn out moments in this episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, all right, we get it, like move on, you know what I mean? So yeah, I was a little impatient in this episode.
Yeah, so this show always knows how to be dramatic.
Yeah.
Like when it gets to it, I didn't like it in this episode, but I did like it in 37. Like there's parts of the drama I really liked in 37. Like even if, like I said, I think the set of episodes wasn't good, for the most part. Also, the show has a weird disdain for the media.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, like, uses them as proxy for why Light's worldview is messed up. Like, that's, like, one of the most hardest hit parts of, like, why Kira's New World sucks is how the media acts in reaction to it. And I don't know. It's just, like, it's strange.
Yeah, it was an added layer that I thought was kind of making I don't know if you say a political statement, but a statement on, you know, the media and how they portray things that I was kind of like, okay.
Yeah, and it's like reoccurring too. Like, that's not the first time.
Yeah.
So professions that this show thinks are bad. The media, prosecutors,
yeah. Death
children of
gods.
police officers. Yeah, well, death gods come out all right in this. Like, they're not like condemned. Models, I guess.
Yeah, models / entertainers.
Yeah, professions that this show likes is police officers, especially detectives.
Do they like him because they portray him as being incompetent?
Well, yeah, but the competent one, like, the SBK are all competent.
Yeah.
You know, and they're, like,
That's true.
presented as the good guys, just clean and simple.
That's true.
And it's, like, always sympathetic towards them, you know?
Yeah.
Even when they're portrayed as incompetent.
That's very true.
Jazz, just, like, interesting there.
Yeah, geniuses from a special orphanage.
Yes.
That solve crimes.
Yeah. Weird inventor philanthropists who come up with special orphanages.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yes, let's see. Oh yeah, the weird pointless hook motif throughout this episode and the next one. I don't know if you noticed this, but it's like constantly framing the hooks in the warehouse.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's a good point.
I think that's supposed to look cool, but I was just like, why is this here? It's just like it feels like an attempt at symbolism without drawing any actual meaning to it. It's just like a cool image.
Yeah.
In a way I thought was like, and they already have the cool image. Like the fan spinning that constantly like points at. That's already the cool image. You don't gotta double up on it. I don't know.
Well, I thought it was just meant to be like sinister and like creepy.
Yeah, I guess.
A little cliched though.
Yeah. The old switcheroo.
Yeah. The old switcheroo.
I thought it was utterly ridiculous that it came down to that. And like, once we get here, I'm like, wait, shit. This is, like, I'm like, you know, kind of not remembering parts of it.
Yeah.
I don't remember what happens to Misa. I didn't remember what happened to Takada. And then I get here and I'm like, oh god. I just remembered what the plot is. And I think that's just so goofy. Like, such bad writing.
Yeah. Was this also the episode where they had like the I guess it was Nier that was like, well, we have to wait exactly 24 days.
That was a previous episode because they think their investigator might be being controlled.
Yes, okay.
Which I actually have a note about that because Nier also says in this part we need to wait about 30 minutes to make sure nobody here's being controlled.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't want to get into nitpicky bullshit, but like, because Nier does that at multiple points, like, because that's a previously established fact, he's afraid that that's what's going to happen. Like, Light never does this in this section.
No.
And it's like, you know, that would be a really good idea for Light to do.
Yeah.
Is to control some of these people.
Right.
And have them, like, enact his will before he dies. And it's just like, nope.
Yeah. Never comes up.
Like, weird that Nier raises it at multiple points, but it's never, like, an actual consideration.
Like, the whole, like, countdowns to me were just like, what? Okay. Like, it just was an added thing that I was like...
Drama.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what it was, to add drama, but yeah. Anyway.
So, okay, and I want to go back to the switcheroo. Do you have any, like, particular thoughts on that?
The whole switcheroo, I think, was, I mean, kind of was like you knew something like that was going to happen, you know? But the old double switcheroo is which I guess that's not till the next episode, right? The last episode?
No, the double switcheroo happens in this episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the double switcheroo.
And then the triple switcheroo happens next episode.
That's what, I'm thinking of the triple switcheroo was like, what? Like, because I kind of knew, like, they were anticipating each other's steps, you know? Like,
yeah.
We knew there was going to be some kind of switcheroo, right?
Yeah, and Light already established the fake notebook, so yeah.
Yeah. So that wasn't as surprising to me.
Okay, I thought it was goofy. It's just like a ridiculous plot point, and not in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I thought it was obvious, like, too obvious.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many better ways you could have taken this than, like, because again, like, the Light's plan seems to be, let me just, like, play into Nier, like, obviously show off, Mikami as the new Kira, and, like, be investigated and try to, like, manipulate his investigation towards a certain way.
And he was a little too cooperative, you know what I mean? Like, surely the others knew, like, he was too cooperative.
And Nier is, like, seemingly aware of this also, and is just like, yeah, so we're gonna, like, keep going along with it. Like, they're both like, yeah, we know what the other one's doing, and it's just, like, the triple maneuver of the switcheroo, like, keep going to it, because it is so ridiculous to me. It's just like, what are we doing here? See, you don't seem to fully be on board with that?
No, I agree, because I'm like, I agree with you in that it was like, oh my god, you know, like kind of eye-rolling, like, well, here's what I did. Well, here's what I did. Well, here's what I did too. You know what I mean? Like, it's a whole, like, just, like, goofy contest of wits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would be fine with the, like, one-upsmanship if it weren't them literally doing the same thing, and that their same thing, like, I say switcheroo, because that's, like, the funny way to say, like, a switch, but it is literally a switcheroo. It is literally, like, the goofy thing, like, goofy word for it. Like,
the old switcheroo.
And they keep doing it.
Yeah, it's like, is there gonna be a fourth switcheroo? Like, is some other character gonna pop out and be like, well, guess what? I outsmarted you both. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just...
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's one of those things.
Like, again, like I said, the thing I like about this show at the beginning is that cat and mouse stuff. Like, and the drama of it, but, like, the fact that, like, Light and L are seemingly equals, and they're, like, picking up on each other's mistakes, and, like, you know, like, trying to, like, get one over on the other one, and I think it's, like, really sharply written, and the plotting is good, and they feel, like, sufficiently, like,
matched,
competent at what they're doing. And the plot writing feels good, you know? This doesnn't feel like that. This feels like a farce.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree with that.
Like, if you watched the first 10 episodes of Death Note and did an over-the-top parody of it, I feel like this is what you would come up with.
Yes, exactly. It's like, you know how you see the meme with the three Spider-Men, like, pointing at each other?
Oh, yeah.
I felt like it was kind of like that, where it's like, you know, one-upping each other, and I don't know. That was definitely goofy.
And who actually has the real Death Note? Because they keep making fakes is just so goofy.
A fake of the fake of the fake. You're like, what?
Yes.
Which one's real? Like, who has it? Yeah.
Yep. But, I guess that's everything about 36, unless you have more to add?
No, that's good.
So, 37, so, more drama, like, this picks up right where the last one left off, and they're like, oh no, they didn't die.
Yeah, so there's like a countdown.
And and that's the end of 36, and
Yeah.
Then we reveal, like, Mellow's part of this plan, which I thought, like, sucked. Again, like, we've been talking up with, like, you know, he just disappears from the show, and then he just comes back, and now he's suddenly a key part of, Nier's plan.
Yeah.
Also, I think this plan just sucks. It's just, like, again, goofy. Like, he just shows up and abducts Takada, and, like, that will obviously bring Mikami out of hiding, and reveal where the real Death Note is, and, like, that's the fatal flaw, is Light didn't consider that Mikami was gonna act on his own.
Yeah.
It's just, like, so contrived to me, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree.
Yeah, but, like, again, the plotting of this and the, like, back and forth detective stuff's just bad. I will say I do like, once they start arguing back and forth, it's very dramatic. I like that, and I like that, like, Light goes into full, like, megalomaniac mode and starts, like, philosophizing about, like, his beliefs. Yeah. And I thought that was, like, neat.
Yeah, I actually like that part where he just is kind of, like, just going deep into it, you know what I mean? Like, he's just, like, going a little nuts. Like, I thought, like, oh, I like when, you know, they show the depth of his megalomania, I guess.
Yeah, his god complex.
Yes.
And I also like that Nier just, like, fires back, like, no, you're just a serial killer.
Yeah, because you're like, yeah, definitely is.
Yep. I will say I don't like Matsuda's role in this. I don't like his arc. Like, we've talked about this before, like, where he just turns goofy, and he remains goofy in this set of episodes, and this is, like, the payoff to that, and Matsuda should have never been this goofy, and he should have never, like, gotten back at him at the end. Like, it's just, I don't like it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought that was a little good. I mean, the whole thing's goofy, but
yes.
that was a goofy part.
I like some of the, like, the high drama of, like...
Yeah.
You know, like I said, him being a megalomaniac. Like, I like that part. I don't like the Matsuda part.
I agree with you.
Also, like, again, with the characters, Ryuk disappears for, like, the back part of this whole anime, basically. Like, he's just gone, and then he's, like, really important at the end.
Like, pops back up. Yeah.
Yeah, you could have, like, kept... Like, because he's a major character, you could have kept him around more often, but no, he's just gone for so much of this.
Like, where did he go?
Yeah, it's just like, forgot about him, I guess. I mean, he's in the background a few times, but it's weird that they did that. Again, like, so much of the character decisions in this, like we were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, the shot of Ryuk while Light's on the run, I liked, like, when Light's on the run first, and then there's a shot of Ryuk, like, perched on a tower against this, like, purple sky that I really liked.
Yeah, very dramatic.
Yes. And how do you feel about this whole ending here?
I think, like, I kind of like how it ended because it was, like, kind of poetic, you know?
Yeah. Ryuk killing him, coming full circle.
Ryuk, yes, killing him. It was kind of like, I think that was poetic. And I like the high drama of it. I like that we see Light absolutely, like, falling apart. But I didn't like how, like, they treated Takada and the investigators, and I didn't like all the carnage, but there were certain parts that I liked about it. Like, I wasn't mad about the ending. I thought that it was good, and I like how Ryuk, like, came back. Because you're like, where has he been?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like, Misa lived. Maybe?
Yeah, I mean, questionable, but...
Like, I really hope the implication wasn't that she jumps off that building at the end.
Yeah, that whole part was questionable. I'm like, just leave Misa out of it, like, you know?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, let Misa live.
Right.
It's something.
Exactly. Like, give her something. I was about to say that poor child. She's not a child, but you know what I mean.
No, she's never a child at any point in
No,
this
but
show.
you're like, that poor thing. Like, you know, feel bad for her.
Yep. So, yeah, anything else about this episode before we get into the whole wrap-up?
I mean, I think it was kind of like, okay, I guess, like, Nier won, but not really. You know what I mean? Like...
What do you mean, actually? I don't...
Okay, so, like, I mean, I guess, is this the victory that Nier wanted? You know what I mean? Like, did he want to bring Light to justice, but then Ryuk just kills Light, you know? So...
Well, I mean, Matsuda kind of did him in before. Like, out of self-defense.
Well, yeah. Well, exactly. But, like, in the end, you know, Ryuk...
Yes.
His name, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, yeah, he was outsmarted, but he wasn't brought to justice. Like, he died, but he didn't, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't have the whole trial and, like, you know, like,
right,
showing the world we caught Kira and that.
Yeah, like, he didn't really have to pay for his crime. It was more like a mercy killing at the end, you know? So that part, I was kind of like, well, I mean, I guess he was outsmarted, but, like, he's not going to see those consequences. Besides, death is the ultimate consequence, right? But... Well,
also, like, seeing everything he worked for be, like, destroyed.
Right.
Like, he ends that, like, completely distraught and, like, knowing that he lost.
Right. But I feel like, you know, Nier would have wanted to see him actually pay for his crimes, not just, like, quote, take the easy way out. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah.
That part was a little like, well, okay. I mean, I guess it was wrapped up in a nice little bow anyway, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was more like, we could have seen him, be brought to justice instead of dying at the end.
Yeah, and El certainly, his whole thing was always he wanted to build the case.
Right.
He wanted to make sure 100% and figure out how it was happening.
Yeah.
Not just, just to kill Light.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Light was a comparable adversary, I'll say. Like, it was always, like, a battle of, like, the wits and who could outsmart the other. So to see him die at the end, while I think it was very poetic, it was still kind of like, well, he kind of got what he wanted with like a new world order, but he didn't, you know what I mean? So it was a little bit contradictory.
Well, he failed right at the end.
Yeah, he failed right at the end, but like he still had people following Kira, around the world. So that part was kind of like, I thought the end was poetic. I liked the ending. I do think it would have been more interesting to end it at the last episode where you were questioning what happened. But I mean, I think it was fine. I'm glad it ended the way it did so that we have, that kind of wrap up that we know what happens. Yeah. But I think this whole series could have left out a lot of superfluous details.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I will say about the ending is I think it goes for like the character focused ending rather than like a world focused thing with like Light being brought to justice.
Correct. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So I mean, I liked it. It was a long series. I am glad that we kind of broke it up the way that we did. Because if I were to watch this all in one, honestly, I probably would have gotten bored in the middle.
Well, that is fair. There are parts that are very boring in the middle, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, like just the whole Yotsuba arc feels superfluous. Honestly, Mello feels superfluous.
Yes.
There's just a lot in here that I'm kind of like, this feels like we're stretching stuff out, and also again, I think the writing gets significantly worse after basically episode 10.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, actually, final thoughts about this set of episodes first.
So, I like this set of episodes. There were some parts that were a little dragged out. There was some chase scene and the shooting of the guy who kidnapped Takeda or who was, driving around Takeda.
Yeah.
The whole thing. There were some parts that I was like waiting to be finished, you know what I mean? Like you're like,
I feel like in this set of episodes those didn't last long enough for me to feel like that, but
I did. I mean, I just the actiony part or like the documentary style part about fake Kira.
Yeah.
Like that those parts I was kind of like getting bored of. But for the most part, I like this set of episodes way better than the last couple of sets of episodes. I thought it brought the series to a close, in a good way, where I was at the end questioning who was going to come out on top, despite some of the problematic things that it had with the portrayal of the female characters, as I said, superfluous details.
Yeah.
And the triple switcherooskis,
the weird character moments we keep bringing up.
Yeah, exactly. So despite all that, I did like this set of episodes better than, some of the other sets that we watch for sure. Nothing beats the first part of the series, though. So, but I wasn't, I didn't hate the set of episodes. I actually thought it was like a good roundabout ending,
Yeah, and, I'd probably reiterate most of that, is that, like, the first part's the best, and, like, there's, like, parts of this I like, and it's not, like, the worst set of episodes, probably. I don't know, that, the Misa Takeda thing really weighs it down for me.
It was goofy.
I think that might be some of the worst, in this series, so.
Again, I think the kidnapping of Misa nearer to the beginning was way worse, but this was really dumb. I don't know why they included this in it.
Yeah, it's just bad. But yeah, like I was saying, I think the ending isn't terrible. So, yeah. thoughts as a whole, then? Or do you still have anything left to say about that?
Not really. I mean, I think I've already kind of went through that, but, as a whole, I was glad to see Ryuk return, because I actually like that character.
Yeah, he's a standout.
Yeah, and, I wish it was, I wish they would have continued with the Light L, rivalry, I guess you would say, because for me, the Near and Mellow just didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And I wish we would have seen something better for Misa.
Yes.
But,
at
least they left it.
The whole time?
Yeah, the whole time. The entire time. I did not like Takara's character at all at the end. Like, I just thought that whole thing was goofy. But for the most part, I'm glad I watched it. I think it's like one of those animes that stands out. So
yeah, definitely. It's still like talked about to this day sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, so I'm glad I watched it, and I did like the ending. It wasn't terrible. So I'm glad that it was good in the beginning. To me, kind of sucked throughout the whole middle part, and then the ending I felt like was better than the goofiness that we saw like in the middle set of episodes.
Yeah, and so what do you think about like Light ultimately as a character and his worldview?
I mean, I think like we see the full character development of Light. As I mentioned, we see him at the beginning like of being kind of a likable character, for lack of a better term. And then we see how either the power has corrupted him or he was like this all along and it brought out that side of him. Like, I like that we see that, but I think a lot of the parts in the middle, and even in this last set of episodes, where he's just like so obviously like trying to throw people off of his path, that like it should have been very clear to everyone, like, why is he still on the investigative team? Why is he being so hugely cooperative? Like to me, like, that character was a little goofy. And we saw like the whole thing when his dad died. Like, you thought maybe that could have been something that like grasped at his last shreds of humanity, but it did not. So, I think that character is, I think it was well written for, like, the ultimate villain,
Yeah. Which, yeah, the show's position on him is that, like, his worldview's bad, like, by the end.
Yeah.
Like, there's several points where you're just like, oh, yeah, he sucks, and, like, the world he's creating also sucks.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What was your favorite character, like, at the end?
I don't know. L or Rim, like the last time we had this discussion.
Yeah, same. Yeah, it remains the same. Still L for me.
I mean, Ryuk's still pretty good,
Yeah, I like Ryuk.
Yeah, and, I do think rewatching this was interesting, even if I think, again, the back half of this is just mostly trash.
Yeah.
Like, rewatching this is like, oh, not everything is trash. There's some still decent parts in here. That might honestly make it worse.
Yeah?
If it's not just, like, good and then nosedive, if it's good and then nosedive and then, oh, there's still something here, and there's still some, like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, sifting through the trash to find something, like, it's...
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's something, I don't know.
Yeah. It's something.
Yeah, that's Death Note.
Yeah. No other notes here.
Yeah, I guess that's everything. There's been a long series for our podcast.
It has, and yeah, so this culminates our watching of the 37 episodes of Death Note.
But, yeah, so, anything else to add, or I guess I'll take us out?
That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. This has been Beach View. Thanks for listening, and tune in next time. Bye!
Bye!